Okay, good morning once again. I hope everyone is doing well. Once again, as we already know, technology has made it possible for us to continue with our classes whilst you are even at home. If probably you are watching me for the first time, my students are on vacation, the Form 1 students who are on vacation, just as we did last semester when they were on vacation. We are continuing with our lessons in business management. If you have not subscribed to my channel, then you need to do that. And for my students, you know the rules, you know exactly what you are supposed to do. And let me remind you, in order to know that you came here to watch the video, I have already told you, you must make comments. Whether you understood the lesson or you did not understand. And I also indicated that if you have any question to any effect, whatever the question is, ask the question. I'll come around, go through your comments, and if there is any question, I'll come back to your WhatsApp platform and answer those questions there. We are still continuing with whatever we did in school. Now, we started the functions of management or the management process. We were able to talk about planning, and we discussed everything in respect of planning so far as your level is concerned. Then we also talked extensively on the second function of business management or a manager. Then that was the organizing. So whatever you need to know, the meaning, the activities involved, organizational chart, organizational structure, centralization, decentralization, and any other subtopic that is related to organizing, we have delved into that. Then we ended with directing. But prior to that, remember, we learned that we have 4 basic functions of management. But there are several models. Others may have 5, others may have 6. But at your level, we used to talk about 4 functions. But as I indicated, last year, the November exam, they were asked to talk about 5 functions of management. And we said, in that regard, the 5th one was staffing. And we talked about staffing, what staffing was. And I said that staffing, which is human resource management, and the human resource management would be done in your book 3. So when we come to the functional areas, we'll be talking about human resource management, and recruitment is an aspect of it. So there you got to know the meaning of staffing. Then we came to directing, and whatever you needed to know, the meaning, the principles involved, and organizing, we talk about the principles involved in organizing. And when you came to directing, we talk about the principles that a manager should take into account when he's directing. Then we talked about the meaning, we look at leadership, we look at motivation, and any other subtopic that is related to directing. Now we are moving to the last function, which is controlling. Now remember, we said the manager first set objectives, developed courses of action to be pursued in order to achieve that objective. And we said that is what we call planning. So every manager does that. Having done that, we said there is the need for the manager to mobilize, to marshal resources. So that and we learned about, when you say resources, there are several types of them. We have human resource, we have material resource, whatever resources that we can think about, we talked about that one. And then, so you need to get your human resource, you need to get your material resource, whatever you need to have as a manager, so that you can achieve the objective that you set for yourself during the planning stage. You need resources, you need financial resources, you need human resources, you need your material resources. And we said that the most important resource is not the financial resource, neither is it the material resource, but the human resource is the most important resource that you can have. We'll be talking about it. So it is the duty of the manager to organize all those resources. And then once he had the human resource, then he distributes those resources to all those who are supposed to have. You should have your head of department, everything, all the resources you need, so that you'll be able to achieve the material resources, the machines that you need, everything, so that you'll be able to perform whatever activity that is needed to be done, so that you can achieve your objective. Then we said, having done that, you move to the next function. You see, you have distributed a human resource. So everyone has a function to perform. And they have heads. Don't forget about one of the principles that you learned. That there should be unity of objective. There should be unity of objective. You must have a manager. You have one objective, one purpose, so there should be a manager. But you see, you may have skills, but the manager may know better than you are. So the manager should coach you. The manager should provide counseling. The manager should urge you. The manager should motivate you. The manager should supervise you. The manager should boost your morale. And we said that is what we call directing. So the manager coaches you, and then so that you'll be able to do the right thing. If you are deviating, the manager will be able to detect it and then put you right. So we also talked about directing. Now, having done that, you have started work. You are working. So what is the next thing? So that is what we are going to look at today: monitoring and controlling. Monitoring and controlling. And by the end of today's lesson, we will not be able to finish with everything for this one. So I'm going to have about 2 videos. And the first video we will be looking at. So this is our learning objectives. At the end of the lesson, what you should be able to do as a student. So I said learning objectives. You should be learning objectives. Learning objectives. I said by the end of the lesson, you should be able to, 1, define monitoring. So what is monitoring? When you say monitoring, what is it? Then the second objective is that you should also be able to define the concept controlling. So when you say controlling, what is it all about? Then you should be able to identify and explain the steps involved in controlling. So here we're looking at 4 steps involved, but you see, there are models. There are models. So somebody can also make it 5. When you get there, you will know about the 4-step model, and then how you can turn that one into another step. Then the last one for today will be the types of control methods. The types of, no, not the last one, the types of control methods. They will also look at least you should be able to state at least 4 characteristics of an effective control system. Now you are a manager, you have put a control system. How will somebody say that this control system is able or will be able to achieve the objective? That means if it is able to achieve the objective, it means that it is effective control system. How are you able to do that? We look at the characteristics of effective control system. So now let's look at it. Monitoring. What is monitoring? Very simple. There's this diagram here, and this diagram explains what monitoring is all about. You see, when you say you are monitoring something, remember this term to monitor is not new to you. You remember we learned about managerial roles. The manager's role, the interpersonal role, the informational role, and we also talked about decision role of a manager. You remember when we were talking about the informational role of a manager, one of the things that the manager does is to monitor. So what is this, the meaning of monitoring? When you say you are monitoring, what does that mean? Let me point out to you that when you say you are monitoring something, it goes beyond just observing. You may be observing something, but you may not notice the details of it. But monitoring goes beyond that one. So when you say monitoring, the first thing is that you see, as a manager, you have established objective. That's why I have labeled this one. You have established your standard. You have established your target, your quantity target, your quality target. What you want to achieve has been established. That one is there. So what you need to do is that while the workers are working, we need to go out to collect information. So that's why I said that monitoring is a process. And we have learned that when you say something is a process, it means it involves series of activities or series of steps. So monitoring is a process. In that process, what you do is that because you have established your standard, you have to collect information. Okay, what do you expect the workers to do? What is the standard? What are they actually doing? You have to go there. You can't stay in your office and then you expect them to probably do what you expect them. So go there yourself to find out what they are doing. So you collect information from them. When information has been collected, this information, what are you collecting the information on? The information, what are you collecting it on? You see, the activities desired results. The standard that you have set. What do you want them to produce? If you come to this point, for example, when you come, you look at it. But I use this one to show you that this is what you want them to produce. So you want to find out whether they will produce exactly that. So you have to collect information on the activities desired results. What do you want them to do? What are they doing? What have they done? You have to get that information. Why are you getting that information? So I said, why? Why are you getting that information? So that in order to answer questions on something, you collect the information on the activity desired result so that you'll be able to answer questions on, so I said on what? You are collecting information on the activity desired result in order to answer questions. In order to answer questions. The questions, you are answering questions on what? So I said on the questions, you are answering the question on what? So you move to the next one. And you want to find out whether the results are being met or not. The results, what you expect them to do, whether they are meeting that result or not. And that is all that monitoring is about. So you see, if you were in school and I were to ask you that, looking at what we have done so far, to explain to me, to define what monitoring is, and you should be able to define what monitoring is all about. It is a process of collecting information on activity desired results in order to answer questions on whether the results are being met or not. So that is all that monitoring is about. And when you go to the steps involved in controlling, you look at it that this monitoring will be the second step. Having established the objective, then you need to monitor and measure performance. So this monitoring is an aspect of the steps involved in controlling, and that will be the second step in controlling. So when you get there, we look at. So that is all that monitoring is about. Now that we understand what monitoring is, so you see the topic was monitoring and controlling. So what is controlling? Very simple, straightforward. Now remember, during your planning stage, you set standard, you set objective, what you want to achieve. So what do? as we have indicated. You have to go out to find out what they are actually doing. So this is what you want them to do. This is what you want them to do. But is that what they have done, or they have done this? So you look at this and find out whether it is this they are doing or this one they are doing. So you see, if you find out that this is what they are doing instead of this, then certainly you know that they have deviated from what you want them to do. And once they have deviated, then as a manager, you need to put down certain corrective measures so that they will be able to do this one. And that is all that controlling is about. It's a process. In that process, what you need to do is that, having set the standard, and this is the standard that you set, and having said that, then you now, if you say you are controlling, then you need to measure performance. So it's a process of measuring performance, comparing that performance that you have measured with the standard that you set, so that in case there is deviation from the standard set, you take the necessary corrective actions, or others will say you take the necessary corrective measures so that you'll be able to achieve the standard. Okay, let's now, I was using a variable x here. Let's now look at it. For example, you know, when you are setting standard as a manager, you can set what we call quantity standard, and you can set your quality standard. So assuming you wanted them to produce, let's say, 10,000 units this week, and it's 5 days. So it is expected that every day they should be able to produce how many? So your guess is as good as mine. Certainly it should be 2,000. If 10,000 for 5 days, then it should be 2,000. Okay, so today you go there and you actually want to find out what they have been able to produce. Okay, out of the 2,000 for today, that is the target, that is the standard, that is the quantity standard for today. Out of the 2,000, how many have they been able to produce? Probably 1,005. Now, if 1,005 is what they have produced, then you see that this and this are not the same. There's deviation. So if I ask you the quantity deviation, you'll be able to tell me, because you deduct this one from this one. And once you deduct this one from this one, then you feel that they have deviated by 500 units. So why that deviation? Remember, the week has not ended. First, maybe probably first. So why that deviation? You have to find out. So you see, when we say you are collecting information, that is it. That is what is, remember, you collecting information. You have a standard. So you want to find out what they have actually done. And you don't just find out what they have actually done, but why? Why that deviation? Why that deviation? Then they will give you reasons to that effect. Probably whilst they were working, you know, they are probably supposed to work 5 hours continuously. Yet whilst operation was being carried out, or whilst they were performing, the machines broke down for 2 hours. So if they tell you that, boss, manager, whilst we were working, the machines broke down, the question is, as a manager, what should be the corrective measure that you should take? What would be the action that you should take in order to correct the deviation? What should be that corrective measure? So as a manager, you put down, probably you say that, okay, you are going to buy new machines, or probably you have not been servicing the machines frequently, so you take corrective measures to service the machine. So whatever thing you will do in order to create the deviation, you put down. And that is all that controlling is about. It's a process of measuring performance, comparing the performance with the standard set, and then taking the necessary corrective measures should there be any deviation, or in case there is deviation. So that is what controlling is. If you look at it, I slash it with steps involved. Why? Very simple. Because if you look at the definition, it gives us the steps involved. So if you're a manager and you are controlling the activities of your organization, what are the steps involved? Very simple, straightforward. And I'll be looking at, you see, we used to talk about 4 model steps. But you can also have others who may talk about 5. And particularly as a student in examiner may be specific and ask you that a manager has broken down the steps involved in controlling in 5 steps. So they say identify and explain the steps. In that case, then you should know that you are going to use the 5-step model. Other than that, we broadly have 4 main steps. And what are the steps? That is the step 1 is setting the standard. So number 1, you set standard of performance. What do you expect the workers to achieve in terms of quantity, in terms of quality? What should be the quality that you expect them? If you are producing, let's say, soft drink, what should be the content of the sugar? Okay. What should be the lightness or the thickness of the drink? What should be the nature of the bottle? Any other thing that is related to quality, you set it down before production starts, so that you'll be comparing the two to find out whether what you said they should do, that is exactly what they are doing. So at times, it may call for just observation. You go there to observe. At times, you have to taste the thing to find out whether, at times, you have to feel the thing. Maybe at home, you see your parents there, even when they are pounding fufu, when your brothers and sisters, whatever, you are pounding fufu, your mother will have to find out, your mother knows how hard or how soft your father likes the fufu. So she set the standard. And then at a certain point in time, she needs to feel out to say, if you are even tired, they say, oh, continue to pound. And if your father is the one that likes soft fufu, then you are already dead. Because your mother will see to it that the fufu gets to the standard, what she said, what your father wants. Now, those of you who have been watching adverts, you are kids, probably you don't know. Qatar, there's one actor, those days they were the celebrities. There was an advert on this mosquito. You see that she was at a lab, and then she was looking through the microscope to find out whether whatever they wanted to have, they have had that one. Then he puts a seal on a pan. If, for example, they want the coil to be able to kill mosquito, whatever is inside, will they be able to do that? Have they been able to achieve that? He puts it there to show that. So at times, you have to test at the lab to find out. When you buy a product and you see they say carbohydrate is this percentage, protein is this percentage, this one is that percentage, this is that, the sugar content is this is that, this is that. They don't just come like that. They set the standard there. And depending on their target, if they are preparing something for somebody who has diabetes, they know what should go into it, what should not go into. So the standard must first be set. And then you measure performance to meet the standard. So that is why it is said that controlling is that function of management that sees to it that actual output, whatever you produce, conforms to the standards. So your school uniforms, the school gave the tailor the standard. That's why it is called uniform. If the tailor deviates from the standard, the school will not pick it. If you go and buy the same material and you sew it and it is outside the standard of the school, that is why your senior house mistress will meet you. That's why your housemaster will meet you. That is why the senior housemaster will meet you. That is why a teacher will say that, is that our school uniform? Look at you. This one, you sew it yourself, then you accept that one. Then you know that you have deviated from that one. So certainly they will give, that is why you remember that when you were coming for admission, they gave the standard. The way you were supposed to sew your uniform, they had it there. They did one and it was there. That was the standard. Anyone who deviates from that standard, it will not be accepted. And they will even ask you to go and sew a new one. That's because they have given you standard. So you need to know So the first step, you set standard, then you measure performance. You want them to produce 10,000 units, you measure performance, it may be that they were able to produce 8,000. So when you measure performance, then you compare the performance with the standard. You set the standard, let's say 10,000 units, but you measure performance and it was 8,000 units. So you compare the 10,000 with the 8,000. You see that you have deviated. So when there is deviation, you take the necessary corrective measures or corrective action so that you'll be able to achieve the standard. These are the 4 main steps involved in controlling. But if somebody asks you to take about 5 steps, then this is what you should do. Number 1, setting of standard. Number 2, measuring of performance or monitoring and measuring performance. Number 3, comparing performance with the standards. Then number 4, detecting deviation. So the 4th one will be detecting deviation. So if you look at this one, you see that you have detected deviation and it's 2,000. You have deviated. Then the 5th one will be taking the necessary corrective measures. So take note of that. If an examiner is so specific and the examiner asks you to talk about 5 steps, then that is how it should be. But if you have not been asked to talk about 5 steps and you yourself, you have been given the opportunity to write about the steps involved in controlling, what you need to do, you can talk about 4 and indicate that. And then here you said you've set certain standard, measuring performance, comparing performance with the standard set, and taking the necessary corrective measures when there is deviation. So you see you have combined the 4 and the 5 here so that you'll be able to achieve your standard. So that is what we are talking about. And I've already explained to you the corrective measures. Any action you take to correct the deviation will be a corrective measure. So that is that. Now we are looking at types of control methods. Now, the types of control measures had been classified according to the time the control takes place. Though that's why I've indicated both. I said when did the control measure put in place? When? That will determine the time. When? Now you are operating. You have put the activities into operation. So when did you put control measure? Now this concept control measure is very simple. You see that in your classroom or your class captains. The assistant head academic had given class prefect register, something to monitor and find out those who have not been coming to school at all. So there is a register that will be able to detect those who have not been coming to school. Then there is another one. There are some who come to school. First period they will be there. Second period they will not be there. So whenever you come, you see that you have all been given numbers. If you are number 58, it is against your name that you are number 58. So if you came for business management class, but you decided to run away from accounting, business management, they are supposed to write students who have absented us. They will write number 48 if you were number 48 to show that you came for business management. That's why there was no number. But absent accounting, you were absent. So 48 is there. So so that if he looks at it, then okay, why that? Why has this student not be attending this class and whatever? Okay, you'll be called. If when you are called, they want to find out why. So I don't have this and that, and when I go, this is what happened, whatever. So so corrective measures will be taken. If your parents are supposed to come in, so if the teacher is supposed to be called, if you are the one who is supposed to even be punished, you'll be punished to that effect. You see, the register is a control measure. It's a control system that has been put in place. It's a control system that has been put in place. Now teachers come to school every morning. They have to go to the general office to sign when they came to school. Now in your class, you know that there is a one for teachers. That any teacher who comes, when did the teacher come to class? Okay, you're supposed to report at 7:30. When did he come? The teacher came at 8 o'clock. You write that he came at 8 o'clock. When did he leave? He was supposed to leave at 9:30, but he left at 9 o'clock. You write that. So he came at 8 o'clock and left at 9. The assistant headmaster will be able to detect find out from there and take the necessary corrective measures. So that is all that control is about. So whatever measure you put in place will depend on whatever you want to do. So we want to find out the types of control. Then we said it depends on when you put it down. You know, when you come to school, whilst classes are ongoing, there's a control measure. Before classes even begin, there's a control measure. After, there's a control measure. And that is what will give us the three main types of control measures. So the first one is the one that is carried out whilst operations have not begun. So before operations begin or before production begins, and that's what they call pre. You know, pre means before. So pre-control, pre-controls, and it is also called feed forward. You know, in the organization, you remember that we have done rules, we have done policies, we have done procedures. So you understand what all those things are. We have rules there. There are procedures to be followed, and then there are policies that guide actions. So if you're a manager, there's a recruitment policy, and that will guide you when you are recruiting. There is a way, the exact manner in which something is done. You know, when we talk about types of plans, we talk about all these types of plans. We talk about the rules, we talk about procedure, we talk about it. These things have been put down, and before you start operation. Now, before you came to school and you are doing it, there are rules there, and the rules are meant to guide your behavior. There's a procedure. If you want to do ABC, if you want to go home, what you have to do. If you are sick, you cannot just get up and go home. There's a procedure. So all these measures have been put down, and we call them pre-control measures. And I said, what is the purpose for the pre-control measure? The measures that are put in place before you start operation. What is the purpose? So I said they are designed to eliminate any deviation that might, so the key word here, the deviation that might occur later. So you put down the control measure before operation start, and that is meant to detect deviation that might occur in future. So that control measure seeks to aid that performance objectives are clear, and that all resources that are needed, you are able to mobilize, get them on time, so that you'll be able to achieve your objective. So that is what the pre-control measure, which we also call preliminary control measure or feed forward, is about. They are the measures that you put down before operations start, and they include rules, procedures, and policies. And these terms are known to you because we have discussed them, so you know what they are. So that is for pre-control measures. Then the second one is, you see now, before operation starts, so now you have started the operation. So whilst operations are ongoing, so the key word is operations are ongoing. So if you look at say, while operations are ongoing, the measures that you put and the control measures that you put and whilst operations are ongoing. Now, whilst teaching in classroom, whilst teaching is ongoing, the school has put down control measures to detect students' deviation, to detect teachers' deviation. So whilst operations are ongoing. Whilst operations are ongoing. And it is called, you see, two things are happening at the same time. I said two things are happening at the same time. Number one, operations are ongoing. Number two, control measures have been put in place. When two things are happening at the same time, then we say they are happening concurrently. When two things are happening at the same time, I have a friend who was a UCC student. Then he was also proud to that he had gained admission in what the Cape Coast Polytechnic those days. It was Cape Coast Polytechnic University. He had started that program, so he didn't want to leave that one. So he combined the two at the same time. Whilst he was a student at Cape Coast Polytechnic, he was also a student at UCC. But he was attending most of the classes at UCC. Then, because he thought he could have this one under control. You see, so if he had the two certificates at the same time, then you say one day, he said, I had this one and this one concurrently, or I studied this program and this program concurrently. That it means that whilst he was studying here, at the same time he was studying there. So when you say two things happen concurrently, it means they happen at the same time. And why did they say it is called concurrent control? They said that because whilst operations are ongoing, they put down certain measures that will be able to detect deviation. Ladies and gentlemen, let us note this one thing, that all that controlling is about is to be able to detect deviation. So control measures are put down to be able to detect deviations, so that you take the necessary corrective measures in order to achieve your objective. So control is put down so that the other functions of management, planning, organizing, directing you'll be able to achieve the objective that you have set for yourself. So when we say concurrent control measure, that is what we are talking about. So I said the purpose is a capability to take corrective action when deviations occur. But the task or the operation or the work has not been completed. It has not been completed. Remember, if it is completed, then there is nothing you can do about a completed work. If a tailor sews, if you are a master and you have given material to your apprentice to sew and you don't monitor him to find out whether he's doing the right thing, when he finishes with it, then everything, if the right thing is not done, then you might have to go and buy new material. There's nothing you can do about that one. It is for future. And that sends us to the third type, which is called feedback control or post. You know, pre means before, post means after. And these are the control measures that are taken after operation. Now the output has come. Look at what I did here. This is the output. This is the output. This is the standard you said. So we can compare the two and find out whether they are the same. Assuming this is what you said. Now this is what you are having. This is what you are having. Then you see that you have significantly deviated. Look at this and look at that. You just look at this and look at that. So you have deviated. That means you did not put down control measure to be able to. If you had done that, then while the person was moving to this direction, you would have asked the person that no, this is not it, it should be like this. Then you would have had something like this as you probably determined. So that is the post-control measure. It results, the post-control measure results from completed action. It results from completed action. If there is any deviation, so I say any deviation, in other words, if there is any deviation, then it is late. So I say late for now. It is late for now. If there is any deviation, it is late for now. But it is for future action. Now you are at home. Is that not it? If there is any control, now you have written exam. Is that not it? If there was any, whilst we were in school learning, we were doing tests, we were doing other things, we were able to detect certain deviations and whatever. We talked to some of you, we do this and a whole lot of other things. But if nothing was done, now that you have vacated, you have written tests, it's too late. If your form master, for example, was not monitoring you, and then later, what you were supposed to have done, you did not do. Then he reports to the assistant headmaster, they will ask him, what measures did you take while they? He said, no, it is late. It is late for when? For now. But they can now take actions. When you come, then they'll be able to know what to do so that you don't repeat that. That is what you call the post-control measure. So these are the three types of control measures that you can put in place. We have the pre-control measures, which is called preliminary control measure or feed-forward. Then we also have the concurrent control measure. Then we have the post-control measure or what you call feedback. So that is that one. The last aspect for today is the characteristics of an effective control system. Okay, you have put down a control system. Remember, you have done efficiency and effectiveness. So when you say something is effective, you understand what effectiveness is about. Anything that is effective, we have learned that is able to achieve its result. So you have put down a control measure. The question is, will it be able to achieve the result? If yes, that means it's effective. Somebody can put down a control measure that may not be effective. And why? So when you put down a control measure and you say, oh, somebody looks at it, and the person looks at it, the person says, wow, this is an effective control measure, or this will be an effective control measure. That means that it will be able to achieve the result. What were you after? Now I'm giving you several things you can do and the control measure you put down. The control measure that will be put down so that teachers don't come to class late. The control measure that will be put down so that you don't come to class late. The control measure that will be put down so a lot of things. So it depends on what you want to achieve. Then you put down a specific control measure that will be able to detect deviations. So if you say that a control measure is effective, then the first one is that it should be flexible. So I said flexibility. Now this is also not new to you. When you say something is flexible, remember we have learned that the business environment is not static. It is dynamic. Things change. Things change. So if you don't put down control measure in such a way that when things change, you also change it to suit current situation, then it can never be effective. Because you will be conservative. You'll be using the old thing that will not be able to. Probably some time ago it was effective, but for now it may not be effective. So when you see that things are not working the way it's supposed to work, it is not able to achieve the objective effectively, or efficiency is lacking, then there will be the need for you to change the whatever you are doing. So that is that. That is why I told you, initially, the school had register. When you come, yes, Samuel Jenfi, present, they do mark. So after that one, you run away, nobody even knows. When people tell you, this boy has not been coming to class, you say, no, I've been coming. They say, okay, go and bring the register. They like, Monday he came to school, Tuesday he came to school, whatever. They say, no, okay. Then we have realized that there are some students who come to school in the morning, then they run away. Some don't come, they do this. Some of them, after marking the register, they run away. Okay, let's put down let's change the old one. And then have the one that will be able to detect any student who will leave classes after coming to school. So they say, okay, management, it will be marked. If you run away when it is accounting, you'll be marked absent. If you run away if you don't come back when it is English language, you'll be marked absent. You come back, you'll be marked present, so that they will know you are the type that come to school and then leave. So it is flexible. When it calls for any change, you change it to suit current situation. So that is that. The next one is accuracy. Accuracy or comprehensive. It should be comprehensive. That means it should not lack anything. Remember, you need information. So whatever information that you need, whatever that is supposed to be written, whatever that you may need so that you'll be able to detect the deviation, everything must be on it. So it must be accurate. It must be exhaustive. Somebody should not look at it and say that, but why are you not? You see, this one, somebody will take advantage of you and then do so. So let there be that. Okay, you are in our organization, they have been stealing. What control measure have you put down? They have been stealing, so you can put CCTV cameras there. You see, that will be so that anybody who steals, that camera will be able to arrest the person. You see, so it must be accurate. People should not take advantage of you. So accurate, or it must be comprehensive. Please, when I say comprehensive, it means that it doesn't mean it should be understandable. Comprehensive means that it should be exhaustive. When you say something is exhaustive, it means it doesn't lack anything. For example, if I ask you to mention all the churches we have in Ghana, let's assume they are 100 and you mention 99. The list is not exhaustive. The list is not comprehensive. The moment somebody tells you, you add, but you have not mentioned this church, then it means that it is not exhaustive. But if you're able to say everything and there is nothing that can be added, then you can see that it is exhaustive, it is comprehensive, and it is accurate. So that is that. The next one, very simple, straightforward. I say timeliness. Timeliness. It should be timely. That control measure should be able to detect deviation on time. Time is very, very important. On time. Not that now that you have vacated, you are gone. Something that was supposed to have been put in place, so that they'll be able to detect why you are not doing well here, why you are not doing well here, why the teacher is not coming to class, and those it was not put down. After you had gone home, then it will be needless. So it should be timely. You should be able to detect deviation on time. Then the next one, very simple, because the word cry is simple, simplicity. So it should be simple. The control measure you put down should be able, those who are going to implement should understand it. So it should be understandable. It should be simple to understand. It should be simple. Then finally, you should be able to measure it. You should be able to measure. Remember the first step in control, the second step, you measure performance. It should not be something that we assume. No. What is the objective? 1,000 units should be produced today. It is clear, specific, and it can be measured. So if you are able to produce 1,000 can be measured. So it should be measurable, measurability. So that is that. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of today. Today, what we have learned is that we have talked about what monitoring is. We also talked about the meaning of controlling. Then we have also talked about the steps involved in controlling. We look at the 4 steps, we look at the 5 steps. Then we also talked about types of control methods, and then we ended with the characteristics of an effective control system. We shall continue with our lesson another time. We'll be looking at the reasons, or no, before we even come to the reasons, we'll be looking at control tools. Now remember, we said characteristics. So we look at the tools that they use. Then what they use. For example, I told you that the school, they use register. Yes, it's a control device, and it has what it wants to detect. So we'll be looking at all these control devices. Those of you who are doing costing, we're looking at some of the costing things that you have been learning, and then other things. Then we will look at the reasons for controlling. And certainly once you know the reason, then we know the importance of controlling. Ladies and gentlemen, this is where we end today's lesson. If there is anything you did not understand, you can ask the question. Till we meet again another time. Bye-bye.